I know, crazy. I really wanted this to be good, even if I don't like the books, they'll look good on my shelf. Hi, it's Lucy, and today I'm reading books recommended to me by a professional. I'm sure you've seen these videos around by now, people requesting books from various professionals. This company specifically, I'm sure you've seen mytbr.co. It's owned by Book Riot, and it's what it sounds like. You give them a bunch of information about your reading and your reading taste, and then someone recommends 3 books to you. There's a lower tier where they just send you a letter detailing all the 3 books that they recommend to you, or in the higher tier that I'm in, they send you 3 hardcover books. And with that, they guarantee they're like new release hardcovers. So I'm here to show you my first shipment of these recommended books. I actually won a giveaway put on by Book Riot. I know, crazy. So I won a year of mytbr.co, which amounts to 4 boxes. They do it quarterly. So I decided this would be great to film for my channel and tell you all about the experience, and also like whether I felt like they were good recommendations. Before we get into the books, I'm going to share with you all the profile that I made, like what I said exactly. I really wanted this to be good. So I feel like pretty detailed about what I wanted. So the questions that they ask are, what are your all-time favorite books and why? For this, I gave Raybearer by Jordan Afueco, Pride and Prejudice, The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, and Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. I don't know if these are like my all-time favorite books, but I felt like it was like a good like breadth of my reading taste to have like a YA fantasy, a middle grade like kind of fantasy, not quite, a classic romance because I love Jane Austen, and then like a more contemporary romance women's fiction type book. Any books you absolutely hated? For this, I listed Wicked by Gregory Maguire, The Magicians by Lev Grossman, Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. I don't remember exactly how I filled this out. Wicked is definitely one of my #1 hated books. The other 2 were books that I didn't really like. I also didn't like The Magicians. There's a long ago reading vlog about that. A few of my favorite TV shows. So I listed Avatar: The Last Airbender, Gilmore Girls, How to Get Away with Murder, and The Fosters and Good Trouble, which are kind of, they're not the same show, but Good Trouble is a sequel to The Fosters. So that's a little hint at my TV show taste, I guess. Also, I haven't finished Good Trouble, don't tell me anything. And for movies, I realized I listed almost all animated movies. I didn't realize that. Howl's Moving Castle, The Princess and the Frog, Matilda, and then Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't necessarily stand by these as favorites like of all time, but like I said, for the favorite books, like I just felt like these were like media that I liked that are a good breadth of like stuff that I like in shows, I guess. They ask about any types of content you'd like to be warned about. I don't really need any content warnings. Types of content that are deal breakers. And for me, I put I don't like horror, basically. Nothing too gory or scary. Even though I want mysteries and mystery thrillers, like I don't want gore. They asked about preferred reading formats, but I don't think it matters because I'm definitely getting these books in print, but I wrote that I usually read in print or via audiobook. I do read ebooks sometimes, but it's definitely my least read format. They asked about favorite genres. I said I read in all genres, but lately I've been enjoying memoirs, mystery/mystery thriller, and contemporary literary fiction, both YA and adult science fiction fantasy. Anything I want to explore more in my reading life, I said I wanted to find more epistolary novels or ones with more mixed media, similar to The Appeal by Janice Hallett, which was one of my favorite books last year, and Illuminate by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. And then the last few books I really loved and why. I did fill this out in September. Also, spoiler, I'm filming this way in the future, much closer to when you're watching this video, because I'm bad at this anyway. But the last few books I had read at the time were The Appeal by Janice Hallett, This Is How You Lose the Time War, and then Life in Motion by Misty Copeland. And they also ask how I want them to balance like everything I've said. And I said I want a mix of familiar and stretch reads. So like something that's like pretty similar to maybe some of the books that I said, and then some that are like kind of there, I guess, like a little bit of both. And because I really wanted to be like recommended things, like things that I wouldn't pick up otherwise, I didn't choose a certain theme or anything. And I wanted my bibliologist, I guess, to really know that I'm open to all genres. I was just worried that it wouldn't be believed. And they also asked for your Goodreads profile, which I shared. So the box came. This is what the inside looks like before I open it. So they do like hide it a little bit. Okay. And I have some recycling / cat toys now. Now we have the note that was written for me. This is what it looks like, and I will read it to you. Hi Lucy, I'm Erica, and I'm thrilled to bring you your first round of books. I've chosen a mix of epistolary, contemporary, and YA fiction for you to dive into. Let's check out the books. First we have We Deserve Monuments. My first thought is all 3 of these books I haven't heard of. So +1 for that. This is by Jazz Hammonds. I saw that you enjoy YA and are into more mysteries lately, so I've selected this book for you. In this small town, we follow a Black queer teen who has a complicated relationship with her overachieving mother and her terminally ill, distant, and oftentimes crass grandmother. Avery is still navigating her identity as a Black city kid, but when her mother uproots the family to move back to her hometown in the rural South, she's reunited with her grandmother, who has only a short time to live. Avery tries to fit into the southern town and develops a crush on the girl next door. While learning more about her family, she uncovers a lot of family secrets that have impacted her family for generations. Yeah, that sounds really interesting, and like I said, I haven't heard of it before, so that's exciting. Next we have Don't Cry For Me by Daniel Black. Erica said, I selected this book for you because you want to read more epistolary novels and you enjoy literary fiction. A father named Jacob is on his deathbed when he begins to write a letter to his gay son Isaac. Despite having been estranged from him for years, with his last moments he tries to let his heart lead, hoping to repair their relationship because he wants to make peace before his final breath. So yeah, I did say I wanted to read more epistolary novels. I love books written in letters. This one does sound really sad, but sounds exciting. Is that the right word? It sounds like it will be good. And also, I really enjoyed this cover. I actually really enjoy both these covers, and I can see the third book's cover, which I also enjoy. So that's +1. Also, even if I don't like the books, they'll look good on my shelf. So the last book is The God of Good Looks by Brianne McIver. Erica says, I selected this final book for you since you've been enjoying contemporary fiction recently. Set in Trinidad, Bianca's dealing with the pushback of being the mistress to a married government official. Now ostracized, she's looking for a way to reinvent herself in a world that doesn't want to give her a second chance. With a job opportunity from an arrogant man, Obadiah Cortland, will she find it? Cool. I really like this cover. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I don't know if I would have picked up any of these, except for maybe this one just because I like the cover. But I'm excited to have them now and looking forward to reading them. And also the last part of this letter is another book that Erica recommended to me, and they said, I wanted to put on your radar a new release that fits the mixed media and mystery you want more of, but it was only released in paperback, so we couldn't include it in the box. It's called Murder in the Bai Family by Kara Hunter. So that was really nice that I got that extra recommendation. I'm actually gonna look that book up and see if maybe I can get it from the library or something, and maybe add it to this video. Undecided yet. It is a new release, so I might not be able to get it from the library, but we'll see. So yeah, those are the books that I got. 3 hardcover new releases that are looking really interesting. And yeah, and I'm excited to read them all. These do feel like good winter reads almost. It's all contemporary fiction. I'm not disappointed. Hopefully my next box will have like more fantasy or something. Maybe I'll try to put more in my profile to add on to fantasy, or not add on, to make it more clear that I want something fantasy, or I think you can just write that. I'm not sure, but we'll get through these first and then decide about that. Okay, I'm back, not that long after the first time, because I looked up Murder in the Family by Kara Hunter. There was a typo in the letter, so I said Murder in the Bai Family. I probably will not be reading this in this video.
I lied.
But I did want to tell you all about it because it does sound very interesting to me. And apparently Kara Hunter is a mega best-selling British crime novelist. Mega best-selling British crime novelist Kara Hunter makes her big American debut with a wholly immersive thriller like none you've seen before. Written as a teleplay of a true crime documentary, it has the readers puzzling away, reviewing photos, maps, coroner's reports, and other evidence as they read. Can you tell who's lying? I love that. That sounds so great for me. Yeah, I would like to read that. Erica did a good job recommending that, and I really wish it was coming out in hardback. I do want to try and get a physical copy because it says there's like pictures and maps to look at. I did also order an ebook just in case. It sounds good. It sounds interesting. So it has been many moons, many months since I did that unboxing clip, and I didn't read the books as fast as I thought I would. And because of that, it ended up being that Murder in the Family is actually the first book that I read for this video because I put it on hold like when I opened the box and read my letter. It did take multiple months for me to get it. I just didn't read the books that I got in any timely manner. So all that to say, I'm here to talk about Murder in the Family, which was supposed to be a bonus, but it's the first book. This is a mystery novel told in like mixed media dialogue about the murder of Luke Ryder, who is the stepfather of the acclaimed filmmaker Guy Howard. So Guy decides to put together this documentary to figure out who murdered his stepfather now 10 years later. It had never been figured out, so he gets like a bunch of like well-known, not quite detectives, but people who are like good at their field that can help solve this case. It's kind of like we're reading the documentary, we're getting like all the dialogue. If there's like newspaper clippings or like a scene that they want to recreate or show, that's written into the story as well. I really enjoy the format. This was a great recommendation for those who like mixed media formats, I think. I read this on Kindle. It still had the same like mixed media form factor. The newspaper clipping still had like a newspaper clipping shape and stuff like that. The story itself I thought was engaging, and it did keep me like turning pages. Like I wanted to know what happened, but I found the ending to be very lackluster. And also there were a lot of just like plot conveniences. Looking back, I'm like, okay, what are the odds of that happening and that happening and that happening? Like, come on. But it was a fun ride. I did look up Kara Hunter after this, and it doesn't seem like she writes stories like in this mixed media format regularly, so I'm not sure I would continue reading her books, since the thing that really drew me to the story and like the thing I enjoyed most about it was the format. But I did give this 3.5 stars. So I would say that this was like a really good recommendation on the part of my bibliologist. Can I have my chair, please? So the next book that I finished was We Deserve Monuments by Jas Hammonds. This I ended up giving 4.5 stars. I absolutely love this. This follows a girl named Avery who moves to a small town in Georgia because her grandmother is terminally ill with lung cancer, and so her mom and her dad and herself move down to help take care of her in her final days, basically. When they get there, Avery realizes that there's a lot of tension between her mother and her grandmother. It is her maternal grandmother, so her mom's mom, and she's trying to figure out where that comes from and also figure out kind of her place in the world. She's a queer teen who's left like her big city life. Her family used to live in Washington, D.C., and now she's moved to small town Georgia. She's learning about the history of the town and also becomes fast friends with her neighbor and her neighbor's best friend, basically, and that's a whole complicated thing as well. And I just thought this was a beautiful story. This really shows like a good example of like how generational trauma affects people, like trickles down basically. And also there's the trauma of what was happening in this small town, because Avery is figuring out that like her family's roots are intertwined with the racist past of the town that she moved to and also the town that her mom grew up in. Part of the reason I was recommended this was because there is like a mystery element here. I don't feel like that's like a great description of the book. There is a mystery element because one of the girls that Avery befriends, her mom was murdered and no one knows who did it, basically. So there's the mystery of that, and there's also the mystery of what's going on between Avery's mom and her grandmother, which that one I found a little more compelling. The friend's mom's murder, it's not like a murder mystery in the sense that you're trying to figure out who done it. Like, it is a mystery because it is an unsolved case, but it's not like a mystery novel, if that makes sense. But the parts that I really enjoyed about this were the ones surrounding Avery's family. You get to see Avery growing closer to her grandmother, which she's really conflicted about because her grandmother is a hard person to like. She's very crass, snarky, and just kind of mean generally. So you see that like relationship with Avery and her grandmother because she wants to get to know her. She hasn't gotten a chance because her mom and her grandma have been estranged. And so she's trying to take this final chance that she can, but it's hard because of the way their family works, the way that people work, honestly. And so I found that to be really beautiful. There's acknowledgement of how people and families can have like a different perspective of the same person, if that makes sense. Because Avery has a different perspective of her grandmother than her mom does, because Avery didn't grow up with her grandmother as her mom or even with her in her life, whereas Avery's mom obviously did. So they're coming at this from different angles. And then also Avery has, a relationship with her mom. She's learning about her mom. And I thought that was a really beautiful part of the story. I'm trying not to say too much, but there's like a lot of queer exploration, which I really enjoyed. I love seeing like queer people of color, like figuring out what they're doing, what is going on, how they'll be accepted in their families or not. And there's also a lot of trauma because her new friend / maybe love interest, her brother was murdered a few years ago before the start of the story. So she has that. And like I said, her other friend, her mom was murdered. So they're all like dealing with that trauma also, and it's not a focal point in the book, but you know that they have that in their past. I love this story. Like I said, 4.5 stars. The only reason I didn't give it 5 stars is because for the first like quarter to a third of the book, I was wishing that this was an adult book because of that relationship between Avery's mom and Avery's grandma. It was like one of the first times I feel like I've read a book and been like, I wish I was in that character's head. And I was like caring a bit more about that relationship than what was going on with Avery. But I did think Avery's storyline was well done. I was just more interested in the adult's perspective. That's why it gets 4.5 instead of 5 out of 5. But yeah, I really love this. This was a great pick for me. Even though it wasn't like a huge mystery, there was still a mystery element that needed to be solved. It just didn't feel like as big of a deal as like the family stuff and like the coming of age stuff, I guess. This was a great recommendation. Really enjoyed this. Next, we are talking about The God of Good Looks by Brianne McIver. This follows a woman named Bianca Bridge who returns to Trinidad after going to university abroad in England for 3 years. Once she returns, she finds herself embroiled in a scandal because she accidentally has an affair with a married government official. It is accidentally because since she had been gone for so long, she wasn't super up on who was in the government. And so she didn't realize who he was when they started dating. Because of that, she ends up losing her job and is struggling to make ends meet. So when Obadiah Cortland, a notoriously rude and tyrannical business owner, offers her a job, she takes it, even though she is not sure it's a good idea, but she needs the money and it's doing what she loves, which is work on magazines. This starts her journey on kind of self-acceptance, figuring out what she's doing, basically. Simultaneously, we also do get Obadiah's perspective, which was not mentioned in the first synopsis I gave because I didn't realize and I didn't read all the way down in the dust jacket. So might be kinda. So we get Obadiah's perspective on like why he is the way he is, why everyone thinks he's a meanie. He runs a beauty brand and he gives out makeup lessons along with running a makeup store. To me, it's really about Bianca finding her way. She's realizing her relationship with men in her life, not only the man that she had an affair with, but also her father, her relationship with Obadiah, other men that have just been in her life. I found Bianca's perspective really interesting. I really enjoyed her journey of like realizing who she is. There are actually some trigger warnings here. I would say for like eating disorders. In the beginning, Bianca's a model and throughout the book, she definitely shows a lot of restriction with her eating. It's partially acknowledged, but like not as much as maybe I would have liked. But I, like I said, really liked Bianca's voice and her journey. She like realizes how she and like other people are taking advantage of. And there's also like a sub story about the island nation of Trinidad and Tobago and how the government works, basically, like just corruption on the island, like how certain people are treated based on where they're born or how they are able to like move up in the world and things like that. So that part was interesting. The part that I didn't like and the reason it gets 3.5 stars was Obadiah's perspective. He's a nasty man. In the beginning of the book, you're supposed to soften up towards him as the story goes on, and like his perspective is shown to like see why he's like that, but I didn't really care because I felt like it took away from Bianca's story and I was really into Bianca's story. I think Brianne McIver is a good writer and I will read another book that she writes, but I just didn't like the secondary perspective, especially because I didn't even know it was going to be there when I started the book. This book is separated into sections, so the first whole section is Bianca's perspective, and then the second section, suddenly you're getting Obadiah's perspective, and I was like, what's going on? It's like a quarter of the way through the book. So I didn't realize what was going on, and I just didn't love it, didn't care about it, and I thought that the way the story ended really almost negated like all the work that Bianca was doing throughout the story. Like, mild spoiler, I guess, there ends up being like a romantic element that didn't make sense to me. And there's also like kind of an explanation for why the book is written the way it is with the two perspectives, which I thought was really weird and like too meta for the story that it was trying to tell. And it was just like kind of an excuse. It almost feels like the writer knew that people wouldn't like it that much, so she had to write a reason for why that happened, I guess. And yeah, it just wasn't for me, that part, but I really, really liked Bianca's perspective. And Bianca's perspective is actually written in like diary entries / she's kind of writing a book about her mom's life. So that part was all fun and right up my alley. It was just Obadiah's perspective that I was like, why are we here? And just like speeding through so that I could get back to Bianca. So that's why it ends up with 3.5 stars. Was this a good recommendation for me? I feel like it was still a good recommendation because I liked Bianca's side so much, and like Bianca's story is like exactly what I look for in like a contemporary, like, what kind of book is it? Yeah, I guess just like contemporary fiction novel, like a woman coming of age, realizing who she is. There's a journal element that I also really like. So like that part was definitely up my alley. Just the second perspective wasn't up my alley. So that part wasn't good. I'm not sure that my bibliologist realized that happened because the second character's perspective wasn't mentioned in the letter. So it might have been that she overlooked it, which I don't know. I mean, I also overlooked it, so it's fair. This was like a decent recommendation for me. Obviously not my favorite book, but it did introduce me to a new author who I will be on the lookout for. So there's that. The final book that we will be discussing in this video is Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. This follows an older man who is terminally ill with cancer, who decides to write a letter to his son to kind of explain and apologize for how he was as a father. This is the whole letter that he writes. It's a letter, but kind of like a diary because he dates it. But he's trying to like just tell his son like kind of his whole history. It starts off with how he grew up, what his relationship with his parents, who were actually his grandparents that he was raised by, was like, and then goes on to his relationship with his wife, his son Isaac's mom, and just a lens that how our main character was viewing the actions of his son. Of all the books in this video, I think this was the hardest read. We Deserve Monuments also has a terminally ill character, but this one, we are in the head of that character, and also we get like a lot of details. In the beginning of this book, there is an author's note that is basically the author, Daniel Black, stating that this is kind of what he wishes he could have gotten from his own father because, oh, I forgot the most important part of the story. His son is queer, which is why they have such a strained relationship. At the time of writing this, our main character, Jacob, hasn't talked to his son in years, I think decades. And so that's like the main reason why he's writing this apology letter. And like I was saying about the author's note, the author explains that this is kind of the letter that he wishes that he could have gotten from his father because his father ends up becoming ill with Alzheimer's. So he doesn't have, you know, his memory. He would be unable to do something like this even if he wanted to. So it's kind of like that healing thing for this, which kind of makes me feel bad about the rating now that I'm saying it out loud. But I did give this 3.5 stars. Like I said, this is definitely the heaviest. There's a lot in here about just being Black in the South in America. Jacob grew up in the 1940s, so he's actually a little older than my dad. But I was kind of hoping I would be able to relate is not the right word because I'm not a queer Black boy who was raised by a Southern father, but there's obviously a lot of overlap because, you know, I'm a Black woman raised by a Black father who is older and like comes from a country that was enslaved. I'm Haitian American. So slavery and like the generational trauma that comes from slavery is kind of a big topic in here and is something that affects every Black person in America and the Caribbean. So that is definitely something that could be seen as like relatable. Feels like the wrong word, but that's the best word I can come up with. But all that being said, I didn't see my dad in here because honestly, the man here is really awful. I hate to say that, but you're supposed to be understanding of him, and there are moments of understanding, but like some of the things he does, some of the things he shows are just like, oh, like that is way worse than I thought it was going to be. There are like a bunch of trigger warnings. The biggest one I will give is like sexual assault and rape, and it was unexpected, I'll say. And then things he did to his wife and also to his son. I mean, you can see why he's writing a letter like this, I guess, but it is supposed to be like the complex feelings around that, like why he might have done that. You know, his father treated him in such a way, like this is the way to be a man. And there is a part that I tabbed, one section that is about like kind of like the Black community and how Black parents, especially at this time, would see their children. And so I'll just read it to you. So it starts, we just did love different back then. Love didn't have nothing to do with feelings. It was hard work and sacrifice and making sure children knew how to mind. Didn't have much to do with what you felt about them or what they felt about you. I'm kind of editing because I can't do like an accent or anything. This is like an older man talking to the main character when he was like in his 30s. And he says something like, what we wanted most was obedient children, and we meant to have it, whatever the cost. A disobedient child was the ruin of a people, we thought, so we didn't allow it. Plus we needed someone beneath us, someone we could beat and low grade the way white folks had done us. And that is like something that I definitely do think about. I don't know, it's been like kind of a theme in my reading lately, how children can be treated, like children are meant to not be seen. Hitting children, like that is supposed to be a sign of love when it's like clearly not. And it comes from a place of like, you have to make sure your kids are doing the right thing because it could get them in a lot of trouble if they do the wrong thing in the wrong place, basically. So we punish them so the outside world doesn't punish them, and that kind of idea. So I like the ideas that were brought up in this story. The reason that this ended up getting 3.5 stars instead of 4 stars is basically that some of the way this was written just felt like a little too modern, if that makes sense. There are some ideas that it just didn't really make sense for the main character to have as an old man who grew up in the 40s and 50s to come up with these like basically modern, like not really morals, but like ideas of how queerness came up with nobody really around teaching him, just like him kind of seeming to come up with it on his own, like maybe reading books and stuff, but like the way that someone like that in my head would relate to those ideas wasn't how he ended up relating to it. It just seemed like something that was placed on him rather than an actual character growth moment, if that makes sense. And that I felt like happened throughout the book, basically. Like I couldn't see how he got from A to B. A lot of the time, he just ended up getting to B, which was like the right thing. And it didn't really make sense for him and the way he was acting before to get to B. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. So that is my review of this. Now let's go over all the books that I read for this video and whether this was a good idea, whether TBR Co. did a good job. So I received 3 books plus 1 bonus book. 3 of those books got 3.5 stars. 1 of those books got 4.5 stars. So none of these got below 3 stars. I enjoyed an element of all of these, even if I did have some kind of issue with them. And I found like definitely a book that's going to be a favorite at the end of the year. So I think this was successful. I enjoyed my time while I was reading all these books, and I'm glad to have read them. This is just me reviewing it. I did get sent these for free, but as a giveaway, like not because I run this channel or anything. So would I say you should get it? I think for now, yes. So yeah, I think for this round, I will give my bibliologist Erica a B. I think if I had given one other book 4 stars, I don't know. There's no real scale here, but I feel like a B is a good grade. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. In the comments down below, give me a book stack emoji. And if you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you'll like this video. I will see you in my next video. Bye.